In this video, I thought I would do a video on Verbascum, a little series of cottage garden flowers that I love to grow in my garden. As you can hear, I've got ill again. I don't know what is happening to me this winter. I think maybe when I was out in the snow doing one of my previous videos, I overdid it. I was only just recovering from flu. Who knows? But I couldn't breathe last night while I was trying to sleep and I have a banging headache, and as you can hear, my voice has gone again, so I don't know what is going on. But anyhow, I'm going to push on through. I hope my voice isn't too off-putting. So Verbascum, I said in my previous winter sowing method that Verbascum is better sown in the summer and then overwintered, and it'll flower the next year. And I thought to myself, while I was thinking about that, I thought that's actually not strictly true, because the first time I actually grew Verbascum was in the winter sowing method. Verbascum is a beautiful cottage garden flower, so it's definitely worth considering growing. It's also pretty good value because the seeds, you get lots of seeds in a packet, which gives you a good chance of success. You know, if some don't germinate, some will. You have so many seeds. And also, once you have them flowering yourself, you will just be able to harvest those seeds. And they, like foxgloves and snapdragons and poppies, in fact, they produce thousands and thousands of seeds. So you're never going to run out, even from one season harvest. You'll be able to grow them over and over again annually, as much as you like. So they are a short-lived perennial. A lot of people do just treat them as an annual, and they are just really beautiful. They have these like low growing leaves. They're kind of a little bit like an elongated foxglove. So the foxglove obviously has bushier leaves, and then it has this kind of spire coming out of those leaves. The verbascum has much lower ground hugging leaves, and the spire is taller and sort of thinner, and the flower heads are more floral than tubular like you get on a foxglove. But they are really quintessentially cottage garden flowers, and they flower really nice and early, sort of late spring, early summer, just like your foxgloves and your ranunculus if you're growing those. So they're a really nice, early, fresh cottage garden flower. So I do really recommend growing them. And then I'm going to contradict myself in my previous video and say they're best planted in summer, sown in summer. Well, you can sow them in summer. That's absolutely fine. I have done that. But I also remembered sowing them in the winter sowing method. And if you sow them now in January, they will easily have enough time to flower this year. And I actually do remember my first batch doing that. In fact, I had such a good success rate that I sort of ran out of time potting them up. I was a little bit overwhelmed, and I shoved them all in pots and left them in the shady area, which is now my new seating area that I did last summer. And, I completely actually neglected them. Then I thought, oh, these plants just don't want to die. So, not that I was trying to kill them, I was just overwhelmed with how many plants I had. And I didn't really know what they were at this point either, because they were such a low growing mound of green, and I'd forgotten what they were. And anyway, I rehydrated them in a bucket of water, and they just came back to life, and then a couple of them flowered. And the ones that didn't flower, I planted up anyway, and then they're the ones that you see here flowering here in this container. So, and from there, I've collected all the seeds that I've sown for my next crop. So I have some now overwintering, which I've sowed in the summer. So you can basically sow twice a year, two times. My brain is fog. Twice a year you can sow them. And so why I'm putting this video out now is because I thought you could just do it now, and they would probably have time to flower. They might have time. If they don't, you actually haven't lost anything, because they will put on bulk and green, and then they will flower the next year. So it's definitely worth having a go to see if you can get these to flower this year. So the winter sowing method, give them a go. That's what I was just recommending. And that is actually what I'm going to do. I have seeds left over from my previous crop, and I'm going to sow some now in the winter sowing method. And then I'm going to see how they compare to the ones that I sowed in the summer last year and that are overwintering outside in my I've got like a greenhouse raised bed that I've planted everything that I knew didn't need to go in the greenhouse, but I didn't exactly know where it was going to be planted out. So I just planted everything in this raised bed, and my verbascums are here. I also have the previous verbascums. I'm hoping they will come back to life in the spring and they will flower again before they die out, giving me a second crop. So what I knew was when I saw my verbascums last year was that I knew I absolutely adored them and I wanted more. And wow, they are good value because the seeds are cheap to buy in the first instance. And once they flower, if you get them to flower, and it's not that difficult if you look after them, and I didn't look after them and I still got flowers, let them go to seed and you will just have a continual crop for, the rest of your days as long as you're continuing to plant them. Let them flower, go to seed, harvest the seeds. It's just a never ending supply. So, yeah, this is literally fast becoming my favourite cottage garden plant. I love it. It's extremely cottagey, exactly what you imagine when you think of cottage garden plants, and I highly recommend you growing them for if you are planning that kind of border or cottage garden effect. You of course can plant them in containers as well, and just plant them a bit more closely together so that you get the effect of the spires en masse in the container. Remember that the leaves are low growing, but it doesn't really matter if they overlap, they'll be absolutely fine. And then these very low growing leaves, so a bit like the foxglove leaves, but they're actually a bit more shiny and they all grow down on the ground, whereas the foxglove leaves do sort of go up the stem. Even though they get smaller as they go up the stem, they do still go up the stem. So I definitely 100% recommend having a go with these beautiful little flowers. And if you're thinking of things to plant for your cottage garden this year, I would definitely try them in January, doing it by the winter sowing method. Have fun. Let me know if you have success. I will be comparing my results from the winter sowing with my own seeds compared to the ones that I did in the summer and overwintered. But of course, we're going to have to wait for them for the late spring, summer to see how they're going to compare. All right, have fun. See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.